bailando. Tu cuerpo y el mío llenando el vacío, subiendo y bajando, bailando.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I would love to welcome Christine Samuel, an inner work coach, facilitator, author, and TEDx speaker, is on a mission to cultivate relational intelligence in an AI-dominated world. She guides individuals and teams through complex transitions, emphasizing the irreplaceable value of human connection and collaboration. Christine's book, The Heart Space, Living with Grace and Ease in an Era of Uncertainty, reframes fear as a tool for self-understanding rather than an obstacle. She encourages going beyond logical thinking by tapping into intuition, imagination, and deeper self-connection. Through her work, Christine invites us to open our hearts, embrace our humanity, and foster more profound relationships with ourselves and with others. Welcome, Christine, to A Little Less Fear podcast. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you, Dr. Lina, for having me here. I'm excited.
This is awesome. I mean, so nice to connect with you and your book coming out here. This is really fascinating. I love the title, The Heart Space, Living with Grace and Ease. And I mean, I'm all about the heart space, but I'd like to know how you even came to writing this book. How did this even come about for you?
Yeah. So the reason why I write this book, because I went through transitions from, 20 plus year career in technologies, mostly user experience design and strategy, into what is my calling? Like, what is my heart wants to do? So what happened was, like, I get used to this way of being in corporation, in the business, where everything has to be figured out before we do something, right? When you do your work or projects, like all the planning, budgeting, everything has to be correct and done and planned properly before you do it, so you know the end result. So that kind of life I live, it's everything is predictable, in my control. I know exactly. I know what's gonna happen. I may experience stress, but it's just like it's pretty familiar, right? Then I have this kind of self-growth and spiritual growth that I asked, what is my purpose in this world? What is the meaning of life? What does it mean to live feeling fulfilled? So I basically left my career, and that was not easy. That was not just, okay, I'm just gonna bye, see you later. I've been thinking for years, but I didn't dare to do it because it provides some certainty, some understanding. Like, do I miss you? Yeah, and so what I did is I left everything and walked in the path of not knowing. And that's where I felt, if I want to write a book, I need to write a book that I went through it myself. And through that transitions from things that I know, things that I'm familiar with, to things that I had no idea where I want to go, even though I have some sense of it, but like I didn't know the step-by-steps in front of me. Then I realized the difference that in the way we're operating as human, we have dual system, the head space and the heart space. So the head space is that analytical, reductive, planning and comparing, measuring, so we can, predict what ahead of us, right? We can analyze, we can differentiate.
More logical mind.
Yes. But then the heart space, which is more open and connected, and it's more spacious, and it's more generative. So I kind of see myself, well, when I use so much of my headspace, and that's what our society is doing, there's something that there's the end result of it, stress. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's our capacity, but we use it too much. If you use knife. It's to cut. And our mind, our intellectual mind, is very sharp and can cut everything. But if we cut everything's for everything we meet, we cut it into pieces. Then we forget
Right.
that there are like a unity, like a wholeness, and we cannot see it anymore because that's the way we think. So for me, writing the book and really living in the heart space, opening up a new way of seeing and being in this world, and facing uncertainty in a different way.
Christine, but how did you start to actually open up your heart and live more from the heart rather than like the logical, rigid headspace? How did you make that transition for yourself?
Hmm. And I think that this is where what suffering is for. I make that transition because it was so painful. It was so painful the last a year and a half of my corporate job. Actually, it's very toxic, and because of that, it made me think. So if I already use all of my might to do something, and I feel a certain way, I felt like what Einstein said, right? You cannot solve problem. You cannot find solution from the way you come up with the problem. So what I did was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna experiment. I'm going to experiment in this experiment, and I stumbled about on a word called kodiwumpo.
What's it called? I'm sorry, Cardi. What?
Kodiwumpo.
How do you spell that?
So it's Codiwomple.
Cottywomple? I've
Yeah.
never heard this.
Kodiwumpo is an English slang, which means to move purposefully towards an as yet unknown destination.
I love this.
Amazing. So basically,
To move purposely towards an unknown destination.
yes, to move purposefully towards an as yet unknown destination, right?
Okay.
So when I left my corporate career, it was so scary. Like it's so like what I can like all the fear came out. But then I remember, and I record this. I had a conversation with a friend a day after I left my job, and in that conversation, basically what I said to myself, hey, I'm gonna try this for 6 months. 6 months. Because I was not there saying like this is forever. It's so scary. And I'm going to play. I'm going to experiment because I know everything else doesn't work. I know as a high recovering high functioning anxiety, I used to live with a lot of anxieties and overthinking, and I know that's not working anymore. Like I'm not going to go there. So what I did is I said to myself, okay, I'm just going to experiment for 6 months. Everything I do, it has to come from joy. Everything I do, it has to be playful.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's like it doesn't work before. Like I took things too seriously. So
Yes.
I basically went to the different extreme and said, I'm just gonna play. Everything I do, it has to be joyful. It has to come from joy.
Yes.
6 months, right? So I thought, yeah, I can survive within 6 months. It's not gonna be a big deal, and I can change my mind.
I love this, Christine. I love what you're saying. This stuff hypes me up. So, because a lot of the ways that, I mean, from at least when I've learned and the thing that I've read, if you want to manifest a life that's purposeful, that's meant for you and authentic, you have to dive into that playful side of joyful part of life, that playful side of you. Go back to your childlike mentality, because that's when visions were free. That's when imagination was free. And that's when things were just given to us at the time. Because that fundamentally, that is free. Freedom is being able to choose to play.
Yes. Yeah. So that is an interesting place where like I was able to play and really see and unlearn.
Unlearn.
I allow myself to play so that I can see and I can just try. And basically what happened within that time is like, you know what, I was actually honoring myself, because before it's like, it has to be this way, this is the way it is, and I didn't really listen to myself, right? What do I really want? What inspires me? What is my deep desires? So that 6 months is a place for me to really honor myself, honor the inner genius in me, honor the playful side of me,
Yeah.
honor the freedom of movement, that I can be silly, I can be, I can make mistakes. And through that, I enjoy it so much, I keep going with it, right? Um, and so letting go that place of seriousness and being in my head and just play allow me to go further into my heart. And as I go further and allow myself, because when you play, you only can play when you feel safe. That's the thing. Then
True.
what I found is very important with my work of the heart space. At the end of the day, this is what I found. We are so focused on doing, right? And,
Right.
in this world, we become human doing rather than human being. So even now, I still find myself, I still caught myself doing that. The ideas of what do I need to do? What is this plan? Like, what is the future? What is the to-do list that I need to be effective and with right?
Hmm.
But we forget what I found. My conclusion there is our role is not doing. Our role is to create a container and safe space to feel safe enough to play. So can instead of like me, oh, I need to do this. Like when I wake up, I need to do this, and that. You just like, okay, can I be that? Can I take the role of a space holder to create that safety, that a place where I don't criticize myself, where I can allow myself to be, to think, and not feel like, oh, that's wrong. That's, what is the right way? Because when I create that space, um, I tap into a different energy where the doing, we are human. We're still gonna do something, right?
Right.
We expressing ourselves, but that the doing come from the expression that is so connected with who we are deep down. So if we can just allow ourselves take a different role instead of like I need to be doing and watch what I'm doing and be productive, can I be that taking a role of someone who nurture this person, this creative being in
Hmm.
front of me, so that it can play, it can express itself, it can express its strength, it can express its light, because we don't allow that light to show up because
Right.
we're so afraid to be seen, because we're so afraid to be feeling rejected, right? Those fears
Right.
really, really close us down. And if we can be a person who can, be in front of us ourselves and handle that fear for us, so that the child in us can play, right?
Christine,
Life, yes,
I'm wondering though, I love all this because I feel this, I need to do the same thing for myself. And so in feeling this, it's pumping me up to be a little more playful, more creative. But I'm wondering, how did you allow yourself this time to let go of seriousness? How were you able to do this? What did you start to do that was more lighter for yourself and more playful? What were some of the what were some of the, I don't know, did you have a some type of new hobby, or did you start singing karaoke, or I mean, what did you do to tap into this uh creative safe space for yourself?
yeah. For me, I feel like the most important is self-awareness, right? Because I get sometimes I get serious too, and then
Sure.
sometimes I get serious, and
Yeah.
therefore that's why I'm talking about the heart space, because we have capacity to tap into the evolving information, that data flowing, in our environment, in our mind, and just the way to do it is just by being open, being like, it's not just like, let's not just analyze things and thinking, oh, this is this, or putting labels, but can we sense, can we feel, right? Can we listen? Because for me, I think what I learned the most, and also this is in my TED talk, is about listening, deep listening. So not just listening to people in front of us, but listening to myself, what I feel, my self-talk. So when
I love this.
when I felt like, oh, this is not right, it's when I get stressed, right? Because my body will tell me.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
definitely.
Yeah, we all have that clue, but we don't listen. So for me,
Right.
like, oh, this just doesn't feel good in here. I feel
Right.
stressed. What is it about it? Then I take a look at, oh wow, I'm very too serious, or I'm very critical of myself right now. Let me stay with that a little bit. Or I'm very sad, or I'm very frustrated, doing
Mhm.
something different than what you do. Like, I'm very disappointed. Let me see what's going on there. And even that's why I said the heart space is a gentle, loving space where all our complexity and contradiction can be in the same space. That
Yes.
when we hold it a little bit longer, not reactive, because we don't allow the opposite. We allow all of it in one space and just be a little bit longer there. And new insights and idea can emerge that comes from a deeper place. And it's a different than our habitual thinking or reacting or judging. And
Mhm.
so for me, it's more like, oh, this is what I feel. Instead of judging myself, oh, I'm not doing this, or instead of going to the stories of like so and so doing that, and life is so unfair, da 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 da. It's like, hey, this is my experience. I own this experience. Can I look inside and make a choice? And I
I
make a
love how you said that. This is my experience, and I own this experience. And in owning that experience, there is no fault or any blame at that moment. And
yes,
so rather than reacting, you're becoming more of the observer.
yes,
And in becoming the observer, that's part of deep listening, which is listening to yourself. And when you become more of a deep listener, or listening to yourself, you become more self-aware.
yes. I love I love the way you put it. It's like,
And
go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
You are cut off a little bit. So if you want to, can you repeat that? I hope we can cut that part. But
Oh yeah, I can edit this. No problem. I can edit this. So within deep listening, you become a little bit more self-aware, and becoming more self-aware, that's really where you're able to set yourself free. And that's where creativity comes. And that's where all the fun and enjoyment and the peace starts to come. But you have to allow even like the negative, what we have labeled negative, to go through you, observe it and see it, and maybe even question where it's coming from, but don't judge it.
yes. So that's why I felt, if we go to the heart space, if we allow our contradictions to come, and to be with, even our own judgment, and not trying to push it away, right? That's where self-awareness come from, right? The ideas of, we can have more self-awareness by being more open, giving more
Yes.
space to even our this, like, the thing within us. What I found interesting about being human is our need of control and predictability is very high,
It sure
right?
is.
Because that is safety for us. We feel
Right?
safe, we can control, we feel safe, we can predict, so we can anticipate and protect ourselves. But that
Right.
control and predictable, it's also um, holding us back of self-expression. We have a
Mhm.
need to express ourselves, to be creative, right?
Yeah.
To adventure, a need for adventure, of wonder, of awe, of mystery, because that's part of life too. But the other part of us that is so in control and one predictabilities, can, if we is so strong on that, it can kind of put us back of expansions, of knowing ourselves more, of expanding our comfort zone. So how can we balance that? And the same thing with the head and heart space. We are so into label things, right? Uh, it's good in for measuring things. And when you measure, that means there's good or bad. It's the same with judgment too.
Yeah.
But can we also allow this awareness of that we are interconnected, that we are
Yeah.
just alone, lonely, and everything we need to do, otherwise things doesn't happen. But can we see the interconnection, this relational awareness that comes from being in the heart? In my book, I talk about examples. For example, when you walk, right? We think it's us who walk from one destination to another. But when we walk, it's me moving my feet, it's me that doing the effort. But if there's no ground, you cannot walk,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
forget, everything is relational. There is like another story in my book also. I told about story where my daughter, which was she was like 4 or 5, and we were in the park, and there was birds flying, and then she had a question. She said to me, "Mommy, why is the birds when they fly and they don't flap their wings, they don't fall?" I was like,
Yeah,
"Whoa,
that's a good question.
that's a good question." That's like a law of gravity, right? It's
Yes.
children and being curious, and I looked at the birds and I realized, wow, you know, because, and I told her, I mean, not scientifically, but it's from a realization that the air holding the birds when it's glide, right? So when we see the bird flying, we think, oh, because they have wings, they do them, they do things themselves.
Right.
They are always supported by the pressure of the air. And in our life, it's always like we don't just do things. Everything happen um, it, for us, right? Through us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If we have that more awareness that we are not alone, that we are guided, we are supported, um, then we have less fear, a little less fear.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So if we have the awareness that we're being supported by unseen circumstances, then we're able to trust and we're able to let go. And that's how we're able to let go of fear. Just as a flying bird in the sky is able to stop flapping its wings and trust that the air has its back, literally. And
Yes.
that the air, even though you can't see the air, the bird is still trusting the unseen circumstances and its environment. And the same goes for us. What an incredible analogy, Christine. I love this.
You're welcome. And again, right? Like things are unseen. A lot of things that are unseen that are supporting us. Okay, let's say we're not trying to be religious or spirituals. Let's say we're trying to be scientific or whatever.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
the air we breathe. We cannot see it, but
Right.
that's what keeps us alive.
Right.
Right? Even our heart, heartbeat and everything that works within us, the microbiomes or the bacteria in our organs, we cannot see it, but it keeps us alive.
Sure
So
does.
can we like stop a little bit, slow down, and really pay attention to all those details and bring our wonder and curiosities and gratitude and awe and like a child again, like being curious. Sometimes I felt so grateful when I eat. And this is the thing, right? I have a plate of rice and meats and vegetable salads and stuff.
Mhm.
And I look at it and it's like, whoa, the rice come from Japan or Thailand.
Mhm.
The beans come from, the Saskatoon. It's like there's the world in my plate. There's a world
Yeah.
in my plate, right? And then how many people involved to make that happen in my plate? It's not just me going to grocery, cooking and eating it, but like workers, farmers, truck drivers, people in the
Yes.
warehouse, like all of it, right? I put that in the book on chapter 6 about the relational awareness of this heart space.
Love
If we
this.
can look at something without labeling, because when we label things like, oh, it's a chair, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, when I let's say, if you have relationship and you know your spouse name, John or whatever, it's just a name, right? We know something, we skip the detail. So
Right.
in my book, I also mentioned about, when I sit down and I look at, I can label things like, a curtain, a window, a book, a table. What I did there, I skip all the details, right? I skip how the light come to the curtains, and how uh, the the shadow from the trees outside make difference within the, and how the chair and the texture, the colors. We skip all of it because we know we think when we name it, we know it. But there is something deeper. And if you can look, there is some, like, awe, honest, and being able to feel that mystery working for us and through us, supporting us. And in those ordinary is where we can find an extraordinary. And when we are
Yeah.
busy in our mind thinking, what should I do, or this and that story, we just forget about those things that are so real, so heavenly good. Because for us, what matter is the abstraction of what success is about, where I can get this and that. But in the presence moment, there's so much we can notice. And I hope through my book
Absolutely.
and through being in the heart space, we be able to notice that more.
Definitely. I love how you said that, because I love how you said that in the ordinary you'll find the extraordinary. And you will find the extraordinary in the ordinary when you become more present. And in becoming present, you're able to see where things come from, and the amount of effort that it took to even make a meal. Whether it's a salad, whether it's a sandwich, where did the sandwich come, where did the bread come from? There were farmers, there were gardeners, there were people making sure the soil was ready for us, for consumption, making sure that it's not infected with anything, that it's clean. I mean, there's so much that goes into even just our meal, or even our bed, even our blankets and everything. And when you're in that mode of gratitude, that is your peace, that is your bliss. When you're in that bliss, then you're in that appreciative mode. And guess what? You get more of what you're feeling bliss about. You get more of that gratitude. You get more of that appreciation. And that object or that thing that you're being grateful for and appreciative for is also appreciative of you. And it's just like this collaboration, as you were talking about earlier, with energies. And that's part of all the heart space opening up towards one another. It's really quite a beautiful flow.
See, isn't it interesting? Because what happened in that is, like, we train our focus to focus differently. Because what
Yeah.
happened with our amazing capacity of thinking, right? Um, we and analytical thinking,
Yeah.
and look at something. We can look at someone in front of us, like, let's spouse or kids. Right? What we can do is we can find out what is not there, what's
Yeah.
lacking.
Right.
Right? So, like, I look at you. Oh, you're not this yet, or you're not that. Or I look at the wall, and there's like frames, picture frames. Instead of looking what is in the frame, I can say that frame is not correctly positioned.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And then I go outside and I look at my paycheck, and I say, this paycheck is not enough. I see what is not
Hmm.
there instead of the number in there. I look at, my kid, and I look at them, and I say, they're not smart enough. I look at, my meal. I said, oh, this is not tasty enough. And without knowing it, what we become, we create this illusion of what's not here as what we live in. So we're
Yeah.
always looking what's not here instead of what's here. And that's why in
Right.
this world right now, we are
Right.
living with lack and scarcity, because
Right.
our focus, our analytical focus, and how we measure things is what's not here, right? But like just what you said about, sense of wonder. Look at the food, what we eat, things that inside, we change it into what is here.
Right.
beyond what we can see. And I think that's will change our experience. Like, let's say the problem, sometimes I felt the problem that we experience is not a problem if we see it differently.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of like we figure out a problem because our mind's seeing it in like something not here, and we try to find solutions. But just by shifting our frame of mind, the way we see it, the problem could be disappeared. And I think most of our problem will disappear or will become not a problem anymore just by
Sure.
shift our perspective.
Yeah, well, definitely. Also, because if people are constantly looking at what's not there, that rather than what is, you're going to get more of what's not there. Because what you put your energy on is what you focus on, is what you're going to get more in return from, or more of. And so, if people are able to change their perspective, coming instead of looking at things that are lacking, rather than things that are already existing in front of you, and using all of your senses, and then you're going to get more of that rather than what isn't. And
Yes,
so I definitely agree. I mean, once people can start going more into that heart spaces you're talking about, it really makes you feel a lot lighter and more comfortable, also, and safer
yes,
wherever you're at. I mean, it's really a really beautiful domino effect how everything starts to unfold in front of you when you start to accept and see things for what is, being just as a human being, even things, letting things be in front of you, and accept and seeing for what it is and what it's made of and how it even came to be. And it's just being in that appreciative gratitude state is really quite amazing.
yeah. I think that's our power that we don't use much. To
True. Yeah.
it's a superpower because it gets into us get us into a different state that is a creative state because
Mhm.
it create that safety. It create that we are being held. And again, like your podcast is a little less fear. Just even shifting our focus instead of what lacking is to what's here can reduce can be can remove the fear because the more we stay with I feel like why we fear is because we are so focused on what's lack. Of course, if you focus on lack, what you feel is fear. What you
Yeah.
feel is this survival, like I need to do
Yeah.
this, do that. I need to protect myself. I need to anticipate the worst thing gonna happen. Of course, that's gonna be. So in my book, I also mentioned that fear is do not afraid of fear because fear is just a phenomena of like let's say you have an apple and you dropped
Yeah.
it, right? Of course, it's gonna drop because there's a law of gravity.
Gravity.
But the way we do it, we don't understand that. We said, why the apple drop? Is it my fault? Oh my God, I had to have to hold it tight. And that's
Right. Right.
because we don't really have that awareness as collective yet about what happened that our mind actually create our experience. Then we afraid of fear itself, right? So the fear for me is very logical, back to being paradox, logical. If you focus on lack, you always gonna get fear. And the hardest part right now in our society, fear has become our way of pushing ourselves to achieve more, become
Yeah.
our way to success. Because how you push yourself to success, so if I don't get it, I can like I will be, yeah, I if I don't get it, I will suffer. Right? That's why we push it. So
Hmm.
we use it to push us forward, to push us into grow. And in certain it works. It's been working, but if we keep doing it, like then we become slave of it, and we're not gonna enjoy achieving something. That experience of fear for achieving is it exhausting. That's why there's so many people having a burned out and overwhelmed
Oh
because
yeah.
we've been pushing our growth, our success as society through fear, right? And we need to a different way of pushing ourselves. But like maybe not pushing, like living in a flow and see the effortless way. If we in that joy and playfulness, we become doing is effortless, playing is effortless, right? We don't have to think about it.
Christine, how does someone get into that flow state?
Be in a flow. Be playful. Be curious.
That's true. Yeah.
Be curious, and this is what I would tell people. You don't need to change. If you feel anxious, if you feel like you want in control, that's okay. But give a time. For example, within 5 minutes, I can play. And today, let's say Sunday, I just gonna allow myself to do whatever I want and just notice it. So give yourself a container to say, because this is also in my book. I said trusting and surrendering and letting go is like a muscle work. What I mean is, let's say if I tell you, Dr. Lino, okay, you stand up and you just fall through backward.
Right.
And I said to you, please fall backward. You will not allow yourself, even though you say it to your body, you said, yeah, I will. You will not allow it because it's not safe, right? Our body will not allow ourselves to fall backward, right?
Right.
It's dangerous. It's not safe. But then I would tell you, okay, so come here. There's a mattress behind. So I would I would be more willing to fall backward if I see a mattress and I kind of touch it and like test it, right? Before I do it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty safe. Then I will fall back, right? It's scary, but I know I will be safe.
Yeah.
So in order to be playful, in order to be, have this, give yourself just a little bit, a dose of playfulness, a dose of allowing us, because sometimes our control is so strong. So then, give yourself 5 minutes to play, 5 minutes to just drink and doing nothing, maybe 10 minutes, whatever. And when you start feeling, oh, this is feel good, because our body needs to register that's feel good, because we always try to go into what feels good. So, oh, this is feel good. Oh, maybe so we be more willing to fall back, right? Like, oh, this is fine, and I like it. Oh, maybe so you become more, you dare more, right? The same like I think one of the reason why I was able to leave my, I say like, this is it. I gonna leave my corporate career because of the COVID. The lockdown with forcing us to stay home, right? So then I realized, hey, you know what? I don't really need much money than I thought before.
Yeah.
Right? Basically, I make good money, and then
it forced you to face your survival fears.
Yes. So then I thought
of survival.
I need to get a certain amount of money because it's not enough. Even I make more, I still feel not enough because I need to go this and that restaurant. Like, oh, not going to restaurant was fine. Cooking at home was fine. I didn't need that much. So that made me willing to take that decision more because I see, oh yeah, I think this is possible because look at it. I only spend this much within COVID than before, right? So we need to give ourselves that space to play, not just openly like this is what I'm going to do forever because that's scary and we will not do it ourselves because it doesn't feel safe, and create that and be present and feel the good feeling that comes from it. Then it's allow us to be more willing, or allow our nervous system or this sensory system to be in control, to give more space, allow us a little bit more, open up because it feels good. And that's why when I start with okay, I'm gonna do it 6 months because it's scary. Even a year is scary, but now it's been 3 years, right? So then, oh, this is good. Okay, like slowly, but surely. So it's practicing our muscles so we can contract more and more and more because we know we're capable to do that. So allow ourselves to be aware and see, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing this. This is fun. Okay, let's do more, right? And I think that is a gentle way of expanding our heart space.
I love that. Exercising that muscle, because when you start to change the way that you were used to thinking before, it's like working out a brand new muscle and getting it strong. And once you get that muscle strong, it just becomes nature, a natural for you after that. It becomes a habit. It becomes a habit of being present. It becomes a habit of going straight to the heart space rather than the mental space.
Yeah. It takes practice, and it takes also intentional effort to accept, love, and be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Because I think
I
that's,
love
if you want to change the world, start with being kind, loving, and accept ourselves more, and listen more to ourselves. Because as we
right.
able to deal lovingly with our conflicts, inner conflicts, we have more understanding how to deal with conflicts with others and in our
Oh yeah.
society. Right?
And more easily then too, because you've already accepted yourself.
Yes, yes. Imagine what the world be like in relationships and connection if we accept ourselves more. Just ourselves, not the others, right? Not about the
Right.
others, but about ourselves. I think there's less resistance, there's more flow, there's more connections, more warmth, there's more creativity and playfulness because we allow ourselves to not take ourselves seriously.
Christina, I can't imagine like in the last 3 years that you've been exercising the heart space muscle and living now more in this rather than being in the rigid deductive reasoning dual system and just being more in the heart. I can imagine that your whole life has changed completely in the last 3 years.
Yes, yes, definitely. Definitely. And I felt more in touch with my inner child, with Christine, who, loved to
Oh, that's
play and
beautiful.
to explore things. And I think that's the beauty of it. I always felt our journey, there's a hero journey by Joseph Campbell, who talk about the archetypes of stories of humanity, of our life journey. But for me, our journey is about, each of us is about a redemption of our wounded child.
Yeah,
It's like
definitely. It is.
we we are wounded, each of us actually, living in the world of traumatized world, not just in our family or whatever, but like the world. This is a traumatized world,
Yeah.
and it's still fear based, and it's still in the survival mode. No matter even you think you are successful and have everything, um, but can we redeem this wounded child inside of us with love, kindness, and acceptance, and be the mature, wise adult for this person? Because I think that in that person, in that wounded child, there's also that treasure of creativity, playfulness. If we don't
Mhm.
free that child within us and give that safe space and accept her or him or whatever, or they,
Yeah.
how can it allow it to play? I think in our shadow is in our strength, in our shadow is in our light. So we can kind of, instead of seeing the world as this or that, or see myself as good or bad, seeing myself as a spectrum of wholeness, that that okay that it's okay if once in a while I get mad and yell at my kids, or slack and not doing things, and then because I know the next day I'll be I will return to my normal self. So what would the world be like for us if we not afraid of our own experience, right? Because I
Right.
think
I love it. Yeah.
Because I think what we afraid most is our own experience, our experience of discomfort, of pain that actually
Hmm.
inflicted by ourselves, believe it or not.
Right. Yeah.
If if we
Self-inflicted.
yeah, if we can see that and be kind and curious, um, I think the world gonna be more bright and open, and we
Absolutely.
bigger playground to play.
I mean, that's how we all come into peace and harmony,
Yeah,
really, when you can tap into that inner child. And because there are no mistakes when you're being that inner child. I mean, curiosity means exploration, and exploration means creativity. And there is no right or wrong creativity. How else are you going to create unless you figure out the differences between things and allowing that natural flow to come in and out of your life, to weave in and out of your life. And when you become more flexible, you're flexible with others. And that is where harmony's at.
yeah, yeah.
I love this, Christine. Hey, Christine, this has been amazing. Where can our viewers, our watchers, and our listeners find your book, The Heart Space Living with Grace and Ease? And how can they get a hold of you if they need to get a hold of you?
Thank you, Dr. Lino, for giving a chance to share this. You can find me at christinesamuel.ca. That's my website. I gave a free download of a chapter of my book.
Excellent.
So you can go there and download a free chapter, or you can find the book on Amazon, whatever CA or whatever your country Amazon website, and just search for my name or the heart space or the book title. You'll find it.
The Heart Space with Grace and Ease with author Christine Samuel. This has been really, really beautiful. Coming from a heart space, coming from the purest part of yourself, which is creativity, joy, bliss, your inner child, and allowing the flow of nature to connect you and others, and being present, being in the present moment, expressing that inner light, play an experiment, let go of being serious. And because fear is a phenomenon, and if you don't, you're gonna trap yourself into the cycle of fear, and fear is a trap. If you focus on love, you will. If you focus on love, you're just gonna get more playfulness. If you focus on playfulness, you're gonna get openness, and that's part of the open heart space. And I love this. Thank you so much. I'm gonna end this with a poem here that I wrote. Yeah, this is for Christine Samuel here. Thank you so much.
I love to hear it.
I was living in doubt, fear, worry, until I realized that I was missing a connection. I was missing a collaboration with self. And within integration of self, with the intelligence of nature, with the intelligence of intuition, I came to embrace all that unifies the heart. In this unity, I found profound ease, peace, stillness, and emotional wealth. It is my yearning to fill up the space between us with the calling of hearts speaking the same language of inner connectedness to become whole. And that is inspired by you, Christine. Thank you so much for being on a Little Less Fear podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Lino, for the poem and for the opportunity to be here with you. I appreciate it.
It's been a true blessing playing with you and being creative. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bailando, tu cuerpo y el mío llenando.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to A Little Less Fear podcast. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends and your family about A Little Less Fear podcast. And if you are interested in being on my show, feel free to leave me an email at alittlelessfear@gmail.com. Or if you have any questions or comments and you also want to leave me an additional message, you can also do so from my website, leaving an inquiry at www.alittlelessfear.com. You can get a copy of my book on Amazon, Amazon Kindle, and Amazon Kindle Unlimited, also titled A Little Less Fear. And thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate all the support. Leave me a review if you get a chance. I love to receive feedback, questions, and comments. And any way that I can be of support to you, please let me know. Thank you so much. I love you. Wishing you love, light, happiness, and many blessings your way.
vacío,